Hey, what's up guys? Long time no talk. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded anything. Life's been crazy. I'm sure your life has been crazy. So much has happened since I last talked to you, and I'm sure so much has happened for you since I last talked to you. But I am back in Boston. I didn't really do much content over the summer. Did a couple projects here and there, but truthfully, you haven't heard from me in a while. So let's catch up. I'm back in Boston because in a few weeks I am starting my senior year at Boston University. So excited. I wanted to do another kind of quick Q&A video because I know you guys really like these videos, and for some reason this sort of college related content just especially does really well. And it's also a really exciting opportunity because this is my last move in. My space is not where I would love it to be just yet. I literally moved in a couple days ago, and for some reason the jet lag hit me really hard this time. It's only a 3-hour difference, but I don't know why. I slept for like almost 20 hours straight the other night. Anyway, I have a few questions that I'm gonna answer, hopefully give you a little bit of an insight into what I've been up to, what I am going to be up to, and kind of my thoughts on quarantine and the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world right now, and hopefully lift your spirits a little bit. So if you're looking for a little hope, it's a good thing you clicked on this video. What has been going back to school during a pandemic been like? So far, I haven't really started classes yet. Most of the classes are online. BU's doing a hybrid model, which I think is a really great option because it gives the people who feel like they can really only learn in the traditional sort of classroom academic environment a space to do that, and the university's been taking really every single necessary precaution. I moved in a couple of days ago. I have already been tested twice for COVID. Literally the neighboring building is where I go do it. I already have my 3rd test scheduled. We have to get tested every 3 days, which I think is incredibly valuable and important because I took a test the first day I got here, but the truth is I could have gotten the virus while I was on a plane overnight. And so the only way to make sure I didn't is if I get tested at least a couple times after. So I think it's incredibly smart, and I'm really glad I did. The weirdest thing I think is going to be being in my apartment so often. If you know me really well, you know I really don't like to stay still. I like to be constantly on the go, seeing people, different places. I like to jam pack my days, so it's gonna be really interesting experience this semester. I think it's gonna be a lot more chill, but already I've kind of realized the days that are more relaxed, I find that I'm a little bit more productive, and I don't think that's necessarily because of just the environment. I think literally because of how much time I spent going to places, like literally point A to point B. I think I'm saving that time, and I think I underestimated how much time I was really spending just moving rather than just staying stationary. So we're gonna see what I can get done. I'll keep you updated. It's gonna be a really strange semester for sure. What did you do during quarantine? That's a great question. I did a couple things. I started a podcast. It's called Groundbreaking. I highlight young creatives, entrepreneurs, sort of share their stories to lift up and inspire other creatives. It's been the coolest and one of my favorite projects I've ever done. We finished up the first season last week before I moved. It's available on all your favorite streaming platforms, and it's the first Friendly original podcast. Friendly was another project that I launched during quarantine, sort of my platform for youth creatives, and there's gonna be a lot more coming with that. It's gonna be ever changing and continuously growing, so it's hard to define right now, but stay tuned with that. It's gonna be crazy. I went through a lot of the legal work and sort of not as fun business side of starting your own thing. So that's what happened during quarantine. I also released an EP. I did not think new music was coming anytime soon. I released an album earlier this year and an EP over the summer, but I wrote the EP entirely at my parents' house and recorded it at my parents' house, and it's one of my favorite projects I've ever done, so make sure you check that out too. We're gonna be doing some cool stuff with some of those songs into the fall, so don't fall behind. Listen to that EP and let me know what you think, and stay tuned because there's a lot of really cool stuff coming. I have a lot of projects in the works for the fall, but of course everything is being done safely. I promise you that is my #1 priority. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from college? I think this is a really tough question because every single year of school has really taught me something new and innovative and so unexpected. And I anticipate just that for this coming year, especially considering the unusual circumstances that we're under. I mean, freshman year just totally taught me the value of a new environment. Sophomore year really challenged me in my professional sort of pursuit and what I really wanted to do and where I wanted to go. Junior year really challenged me because I was abroad for half of it in Australia, and then for the other half, I only spent on campus for like a month, and then we got sent home. So it was really just about adapting and resilience, and then who knows what this semester is going to be. But I think my overall sort of main takeaway is that I am now so comfortable, and I actually prefer uncomfortable environments because I am somebody that I would not have recognized when I started school and when I moved out to Boston for the first time. And that's something I value so deeply and so tremendously that I think I often overlook it. But I think what you have to do, and the greatest takeaway from school that you can have, is the moments where you break down your predispositions and kind of forget all your expectations and break down your walls and just be open to being your most vulnerable, raw self, which is much easier said than done, and it is not something that happens overnight. But those are the moments when you adapt and you learn the most about yourself. It's the moments that are uncomfortable that hold a mirror up to you and allow you to see yourself in very much a new light and a new position. And I think those sort of key moments that sort of give you a hint of what could be are the most valuable things about school. And part of the reason why I just like really never want to stop learning and being in school. This is actually my last semester. I'm graduating in January, so I'm really sad about that because I think those moments might, I don't know, be harder to find in the real professional world, but I think really just be so uncomfortable all the time, because that's where you learn the most, and that's what school's all about. And that 90% of the learning that you do in school is outside of the classroom and in non-academic settings. Why did you decide to become so politically active, and how can others do so? This is an excellent question, and I'm really glad it's sort of starting to be picked up because it is an intentional and purposeful goal of mine. Really mainly on social media right now, I'm really just trying to engage and ask questions about the youth voters' role in elections of all kinds. Of course, this November we're facing an incredibly critical election, and I think the message that I really just want to be spreading right now is that as much as you vote for yourself, you are voting not for yourself. You are voting for the people who aren't able to vote, who feel so incredibly marginalized, and who don't feel represented in our current political climate. It's also a almost disgusting privilege to not feel like you necessarily have so much weighing on this upcoming election, because there are people who are fearful of their lives, who are fearful of losing their homes, who are fearful of taking care of their families. And I think just the current situation that we are in alone would be a challenge for any incredible, prepared or qualified leader. And and I mean, not even quality leadership is what we have right now. It's just really incredibly important that we recognize the severity of this upcoming election and the actual influence we have. Youth voters turn out at a tremendously lower rate than all other demographics. So truthfully, we have the biggest potential to sway and influence this upcoming election. So I think that's just a message I really want to get out, and that there are so many efforts to sort of mitigate and belittle your potential to vote and exercise your right, that we do have to kind of take on an additional challenge in figuring those things out. And mailing in our ballots, and so many of us are in school, so it's the absentee system. There's so many confusing things, but I just want to really promote a message of unity and awareness, and that you really should be trying to keep up every single day. As sickening as it is and as exhausting as it is, if we give into those sort of feelings of despair, then we are only giving the politicians who have dominated the political force and the halls and the hills of DC for so long exactly what they want. It's just important you stay active in whatever that looks like for you. How do you make the most of situations outside of your control? This is an excellent question, and one that I've really thought about lately. I think it's really about the silver lining of it all, and recognizing that you can mentally and physically spend so much of your time in that feeling of not being in control, but what I think is way more valuable and what we really have to work towards is recognizing that there are things that we can control and that our reactions sometimes to things make those situations worse, and the way we are going to feel better and truthfully move forward in a proactive way rather than just being reactive is if we frame things in a silver lining way. And so I mean, I got sent home from school and it was really difficult to adjust, and I was in a different time zone than all of my classes and all of my bosses and doing work and such like that. But I'm like, okay, I, on the other hand, got a moment to reconnect with my family. And fortunately, my family wasn't in the hospital. My mom worked in a hospital and she still does, and she sees every day the influences and the horrible tragedies that are happening. And so I think it's important that we just really frame our perception in a just universal and sort of perspective that's beyond ourselves, I guess. So I think you just have to really take care of yourself by thinking outside of your box, which is way easier said than done, but something I've learned to be really important. What's your favorite thing about Boston? I love the people of Boston so much. They are the most kind and grounded people, but they are people who are not afraid to get in a fight about what they believe in. And so it's really just an incredible balance of everything that I love about people. And this city just has such a rich, history of everything, but the city really implements what it learns, and we're so progressive, and truthfully, it's a political climate that I can really just relate to on a personal level. We're a city that recognizes that just because things are the way they are doesn't mean that's the way that they should be, and I think we're always questioning what we can do to improve, and that's something that I believe every single city should do. We should never become complacent in who we are, because there's always room for improvement, and I also just love a lot of our leadership in Boston too. All right, this is the last question. Any good ideas to stay connected with people while being safe? I think I'm speaking to a lot of college students here when I say this semester it's going to be really, really difficult to admit and not give in to the desire to reconnect with our friends. It's been more than a summer since we've hugged everyone and danced and celebrated and partied. That's a huge part of college, and yes, that's been a huge part of my college experience, and some of my favorite moments with my friends have been in those sort of settings, but it's really, really difficult too, because this is my last hurrah in a sense, but we cannot give in to those sort of things, because the moment that we do, we threaten and endorse an environment where all of this gets taken away and we go right back to where we were a few months ago, which I don't think any of us want. It's really important that we hold each other accountable, and if you have a friend who is not wearing a mask, maybe go buy them a mask and politely give it to them, making sure we're enforcing a supportive environment and not making people feel bad about maybe not following protocol, because you never know, maybe they come from a part of the country where they aren't as educated about how to be healthy or follow CDC guidelines. I think we have to be really understanding of everyone else and recognize that their situations might not be identical to ours. Truthfully, universities can only do so much, and they are doing so much, but that remainder of policies and practice and behavior is truthfully up to the students, and we have to do that. Not for ourselves, but for the people who need these academic environments and people who need to be in these spaces, because it would be incredibly selfish to prioritize ourselves right now. Hopefully I answered some questions, caught you up on kind of what I've been up to, and maybe got you excited for some things coming on the way. If you have any sort of desire to share your story or ask any more questions, I am all ears. Turns out I've got a lot of time on my hands, so I'd love to spend our time indoors connecting with other people. I think that's super important. Zoom calls, as much as we're tired of those, that's our way to communicate right now. Social media, and just supporting one another. That's really, really, really important, and it's so simple, but our number one priority. Thanks, guys. I will talk to you soon.